So 1.4 is coming, so do the Christmas. And instead of singing, all I want for Christmas is you, we are all singing, all we want for Christmas is Miyabi. Oh my god, just look at those ears. But there's also this huge game mechanics change, which is the ultimate mechanics change. Instead of being a team resources that could be used by only one characters, now they are accumulating the ultimate separately. So at first, when I see this ultimate system where you could only use one ultimate instead of using separately like Genshin, I thought it's gonna be somewhat interesting because in the end, it would feel pretty much the same as Genshin, where you rotate around the characters and use the ult, and you gotta wait for all these animation instead of playing the game. That's what I initially thought about the pre 1.4 ultimate system, and I thought it's gonna be interesting, but it's not at all. Player quickly figure out how to use ultimate by just simply let DPS use it, because DPS would have the most damage multiplier in the ultimate and also having higher stat than the support. So I think it doesn't actually feels more fun, and you don't really get to see the ultimate animation from unit like Caesar, Qingyi, or even Lighter, which is a pretty huge deal for most of the player. I pull for my favorite characters. I don't get to see the animation pretty often, and I only get to use it for the aesthetics of it. I'm being punished for using ultimate on the stunner or the support, because instead of dealing more damage by using ult with your DPS, you waste your resources for that. So this old ultimate system is just wrong in so many levels. But at the same time, I also appreciate that MiHoYo is actually trying out something. They figured that taking the ultimate away and by focusing on the basic skill and the combos itself, it would be more fun, which is definitely wrong from the current standpoint. And this is why listening to the player base, player's opinion is important. Better late than never. And I think what we should expect from this new mechanics, which is the old mechanics from Genshin by the way, is that one, the critical node would become harder, because I think the difficulties of the current critical node wouldn't stand a chance against this system. All you do is really just rotate the ultimate like Genshin and they're all dead. So they gotta crank up the difficulties. Just imagine how much days you would get from stunner, from the ultimate. And about the ultimate charging mechanics, I don't know if they're going to nerf it or not, or the off-field characters would get to charge the ult without being on-field, or whether characters is going to be able to charge the ult without being on-field. It does need some testing, and I think it would make sense if off-field characters getting less charge. And the second thing is the Endless Tower is going to be significantly easier with this mechanic, because the ultimate would give you invulnerabilities, and more ultimate would mean you would get a loss of invulnerability. Of course, it's gonna be easier. And you have stunner's ultimate on top of that to stun the target, so they are inevitably attacks you less, making the Endless Tower much easier, even for people without the Caesar. And the third thing that we should expect is that a support that could recover the ultimate or the Decibel in this game in the future patches, just like Raiden Shogun in the Genshin. She could recover ultimate for teammate. The biggest loser for the next patch is actually Cess. Not only his ultimate doesn't really give a loss of days and damage unless you build Cess as a DPS, because the damage is still respectable, but the problem is that his ultimate outside of the cutscene takes more than 5 seconds to finish it, and that would definitely hinder your clear time in the critical node. So you better don't use it in the critical node if you're looking for the better time. But his ult is also super powerful in the Endless Tower, where enemy hit really hard. So yeah, better skip his ult in the critical node. And now let's go with the top 7 ultimate that benefit the most from patch 1.4. So the list is coming from this specific channel, the Soulman channel, and I'm here to go over what he said and adding some of my own opinions. So let's go. The number 1 winner is Bernice. Not only her ultimate would recover her fuse, it also save you a loss of energy to refill the fuse and make your rotation becomes much easier. But you might say, hey, I've always used Bernice ultimate. Why is this matter? matter. Yeah, of course it is, because that opens up for other characters to use ultimate, especially in the Disorder team comp. You kind of wanna keep overlapping the anomaly with different element, and boy, you're gonna be trickling Disorder like firework on the 4th of July. And next is Slider. Not only he could give this massive amount of days, his ult also deals a tons of damage. And more importantly, the animation after the cutscene only lasts 1 second. And speaking of stunner, we're gonna bring up the Chingy, because what's so unique about her ultimate is that not only she could AoE the days, it also charge up her special basic attacks, which is the main sources of your stun multiplier, so that your thumb and index finger, if you're using PC, could take a rest and prevent you from getting irreversible joint pain. And I think with the rise of these stunner, what makes the critical base characters like Alan Joe and Julian benefit massively from the stun, because they do rely on the stun to dish out massive amount of damage. We might be able to see a huge comeback from them, we'll see. And huge W to Rina. I think she probably has the most eye-pleasing ultimate animation, because what is more eye-pleasing than a floating mate with huge honkers while projecting Dragon Ball's Kamehameha? And in lightning element, so not only her animation is extremely short, she also gives this quick assist. Rina's ultimate could also regenerate energy for the team. The electric balls that she released deals a tons of damage. It got over 4000% damage multiplier, which is roughly the same as the Bernice. And that enabled the attacks built on Rina on this number 6 and 4, assuming that you don't have the energy problem, like you have her signature weapon and the Mindscape one, which increase your buff time from 6 seconds to like almost 12 seconds. And you should definitely swap to 4th set Astro Voice, which is the new set in the new patch. I think it's a huge benefit to the M0 Rina, because her buff is so short, but now you are able to complement it with the ultimate, making the rotation a lot more easier. And you also need less energy to keep the buff up. But what I would actually recommend is try to get an M1 Rina when you are getting your 300 ticket to as competitive as Mindscape 6 Lucy, which is kind of ironic. And I think as for Lucy, it wouldn't benefit the M6 Lucy as much, even though Lucy's ultimate would deal a tons of damage and also recover your team's energy, but her buff is already too long that she doesn't really need an extra sources to extend the buff with ultimate. But it largely benefit the M2 Lucy, because at Mindscape 2 Lucy, it would give 10 seconds of buff to the team upon using ultimate and chain attack. So the M6 Lucy is not gonna be as crucial as it is right now, because that would be enough to cover up majority of the buff time in the fight. And Nicole definitely get more benefit more than Mindscape 6 Lucy, because her debuff is really short and her ultimate could complement that while providing grouping at the same time. So winner number 6 is Sokaku. I'm usually the types of person who respect the ritual of the local tribe or whatever tribe you're coming from, except the Sokaku's ritual to buff the team. Even though the buff in itself is strong, it just took so damn long to get the 3 stack. And on top of that, you took another action to transfer your buff to the teammate, but ultimate would complete everything in one go. So a huge W to the Sokaku. And number 7, Grace. This is more like a honorable mention, as Grace ultimate would build up a lot of anomaly, but most importantly, the animation after the cutscene is also extremely short, which is about 1 second. Comment down below if you think there are any ult that is underrated in the patch 1.4, and you have my blessing to take Miyabi home for the Christmas. And I guess that's about it. See you guys.